Welcome back. You're live with your Feel Good Breakfast Show, Expresso, on a beautiful Friday morning. Time to get prepped for a busy weekend on the sporting front. The Proteas, of course, return to T20 action this weekend with a new team, hoping to make their mark when they take on Sri Lanka in Pretoria later today. And, of course, Johannesburg on Sunday. Sports 24 chief writer Rob Houwing now joins us this morning as we preview the Proteas and a ton of football. Rob, welcome back.
Hello, Graham.
Awesome to connect with you in a brand new year, especially when our national team is doing as well as it is. Do you think we're going to see a bit of a shift or a continued dominance, maybe another whitewash stepping into the shortest format of the game? Sri Lanka don't have the proudest record in the T20. I think they've lost their last 6 games in the T20 arena.
Absolutely. I think, as you say, I think there is still a little bit at 6s and 7s. Well, hopefully not too many 6s, but 6s and 7s from the Test series. I mean, that was a real drubbing. South Africa just got more and more intense with every match that went by, culminating, of course, in that win by an innings at the Wanderers. Now, they're still on the high felt for 2 T20 games. You've got South Africa love the high felt. The ball comes on fast, goes away fast. Big crowds expected. I know it's a sellout at Centurion. The weather doesn't look too bad considering it's summer on the high felt. So, and as you say, lots of sort of new faces in the Proteas team, which gives you that little bit of extra sort of injection of excitement. How are these guys going to fare?
What a wonderful opportunity to have to be in this position, to be able to blood new players in, give them the opportunity to test against some big guns. I think Sri Lanka also came into this entire series, all of the formats, with some young players, a couple of seamers, which is unusual for that neck of the woods. Out of the local players that are getting blooded in, who's exciting you the most? I know Ngidi is someone that I want to see. You obviously want to see him progress to the longer formats of the game, but who's exciting you this weekend?
I think somebody like Mangaliso Mosehle comes into the side, having looked quite an explosive player. I've watched him from sort of under 19 days onwards, so he's been patient, he's bided his time, and it's nice to see him actually get a crack. Hopefully it ends up being more than just sort of the odd game, because in T20 it's a real lottery. You can go out first ball and that can be it for you, sort of thing. I hope he gets an opportunity. Ngidi, as you say, an incredibly exciting prospect. We've got some young pacemen coming through. He now just joins that cupboard of really good developing pacemen. He's highly rated by people like Kevin Peterson and others who've seen him in action. So it's going to be good to see him charging in. Again, lovely to watch fast bowlers operating on the high felt. The place you really want to see them letting it rip.
And we know the bull ring is going to be, certainly that pitch is going to be drawn up exactly for them, as we saw in the last Test match. Then we turn to AFCON, Africa's proudest footballing tournaments. Senegal, I think, the standout team. Not a huge amount of wins. Is this something we expect from a tournament like this, a rather cagey start, people rather trying to solidify or protect their position in the beginning?
I think so. I think you get the cagey start partly because especially the players who play in the high-intensity European leagues and then filter back into AFCON take a little bit of time to sort of adjust to very different conditions. They're coming out of European winter into to hot, warm conditions. Although I must say some of the pitches in Gabon have looked pretty decent. We've seen sporadic good football. I wouldn't say it's been earth-shattering. Goals have been a little bit of a luxury, but as you say, Senegal 2-0 and 2-0, so they've made a big statement. They're through, the first side through, and it's fairly appropriate because they are the top-ranked African side. I think ranked 33 in the world, which is a bit of a disappointment in itself. It tells you how African football has been having a little bit of a struggle of late.
Maybe with the new look World Cup format, we'll see that, start to shift. Hopefully that's there in the cards. We look at some of the fixtures this weekend. I think the big one tonight, Ivory Coast up against Congo, Morocco versus Togo. What fixture stands out for you this weekend?
I think Ivory Coast, we want to see something a bit more from them. They had a rather tame start with a goalless draw sort of first up. As champions, you sort of hope that they'll click into gear. They do obviously have decent personnel, and they're under a little bit of pressure to get a 3-pointer, I think. So I think we might just see them stir a little bit. I'm also hoping a little bit later on in the weekend for a team like Ghana to start to sort of lift a little bit. They beat Uganda via a penalty, and Ghana I have a little bit of an affection for, like a lot of South Africans do. I'd like to see them go further. But a bit sad about Zimbabwe, of course. I think.
And they showed so much promise when they first started. And then just very quickly, which way is it going to go? Spurs up against Man City. Pep Guardiola's aged about 50 years and says they're out of the title race. I don't know about that, but what do you make of this fixture?
It's a great game. I mean, I think we'll see goals. I'll be very surprised if we get a goalless draw in that game.
For sure.
I think both teams will go hammer and tongs. I don't think Spurs will be intimidated by playing away. I mean, they're rattling in goals for fun. I think they've scored 4 goals in 3 of their last victories, and the other victory was a 2-0 against Chelsea. That tells you what sort of a hot form Spurs are in. But I've got a funny feeling the Man City are actually going to finally hit their straps. They were very disappointing against Everton.
Wounded
thrashed,
beast, yeah.
and I've got a feeling that at home, they sort of owe the fans something, and I'm going to go for a little 2-1 Man City, a little bit against the grain, maybe.
Yeah, I'll throw a cat amongst the pigeons. Robert, I'm going to shake your hand again just for 2017. Awesome to
Thank
connect
you,
with you. Thanks for keeping your finger on the pulse. A mouth-watering prospect as a weekend of sport wherever your allegiance lies, but cannot wait for it. Well, let's get back into today's major headlines. Catch up with what's happening on the news front with Leanne.